All right, what's up, guys? Today is April 1st. This is the mortgage payment day, and I wanted to make this video for you, kind of going over a few programs, a few things of assistance out there available for you. So let's get into this. So obviously today is the first. You've either made your mortgage payment or you haven't. For those of you that are working and haven't been affected in terms of income, and you're probably wondering like, hey, should I take any of these agreements like the forbearance agreement during this time and just take advantage of that? My answer to you would be no, because no matter what, you're still going to be paying that. It's just at a later date. For those of you that have reduced or no work and are struggling with income right now, there are programs and services available to you that I want to go and walk you through. Specifically, one of them is the forbearance agreement. I first want to talk to you about the grace period and what exactly that is. So the grace period with a loan is pretty much a time period of grace that you have before you're reported as a late payment, and there's also a late fee that gets stacked upon your bill. It really depends on the terms of your mortgage on how long the grace period is, if you even have a grace period. Typically, if you do have one, the grace period is anywhere from 10 to 15 days, and during this time is when you can still make your mortgage payment if you're thinking about it. Now, for those of you out there with reduced or no income and you're questioning whether you should be paying for food or whether you should be paying for your mortgage, I want you to sit down and stop for just 2 seconds. Pay for the food, because there's so many moratoriums and services out there that are being passed in order to stop evictions and foreclosures from happening, and that I'm going to explain to you. So basically, the Department for Housing and Urban Development put a moratorium on all evictions and foreclosures on homes with FHA loans for the next 60 days. So basically until May 17th, 2020. Now, what this means is that evictions and foreclosures have been stopped to anyone that has been affected by COVID-19. This specifically applies to you. Now, as well, for those of you that live in San Diego County, which is a lot of obviously my Instagram followers and Facebook friends, San Diego County passed a moratorium as well for both commercial and residential real estate, basically saying that no evictions can take place and also no foreclosures can be started, finished, executed during this time up until May 31st, 2020. So basically, if you've been affected by COVID-19, obviously same thing, just in San Diego County now, they're actually stopping the evictions and also unanimously passed for the foreclosures as well, both commercial and residential. I'm going to link both of these, both the article from the Department of Housing and Urban Development and also for San Diego County down below, so that you guys can read that and do your own research as well. Now, if you're someone who absolutely cannot pay and you know it and you're like, crap, what do I do? There is another service out there. It's basically called the forbearance agreement. So the forbearance agreement is basically an agreement with the lender and the borrower, and the lender says, hey, you know what, we're not going to start the foreclosure process on you as long as we suspend or reduce your mortgage payment for X amount of time and on these terms, and once it's done, you repay it back and you get back on your monthly payments. So forbearance agreement is typically for people that have experienced a hardship, aka lost their job, natural disaster. In this case, it's going to be COVID-19. Nobody really saw this coming, and there isn't really much that can be done in terms of making money to supplement this and make a difference. AKA, it is a hardship. It's hitting a global scale, everything, and so it makes sense that the forbearance agreement would be available for many people out there. So like I've said before, it's basically an agreement where the mortgage payments get reduced or completely suspended for X amount of time, and it really depends on what lender you have. Now, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have actually put out a bunch of guidelines that I'm going to share with you on what their forbearance agreements are looking like and a couple other things that you have to consider during this time. One of the things that you want to remember is that a forbearance agreement and a loan modification are completely separate babies. Forbearance is something temporary. Loan modification is something that once it's changed, it's changed. So for those of you with a loan that is not backed by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac for whatever reason, my best advice to you is whatever forbearance agreement that you get in place is that you get everything in writing. You want to make sure that they're not reporting you as bad credit or late to the credit reporting bureaus. At the same time, you want to work out a situation for when you have to repay all that amount in the forbearance agreement, because like I said, this money doesn't get excused from your mortgage. It just simply gets delayed. It gets pushed back. And it's either the full amount or you pay it off little by little until you become current while paying your mortgage as well. AKA, if you were to pay $1,900 regularly, you would pay, $2,600 or something like that That's obviously an example, but basically you're paying more so that you can catch up on your late payments. But get everything in writing with your lender. You want to make sure that your credit's not getting screwed over. You want to make sure that the payment structure is something that you understand, and also the terms and basically all that. You want it in writing because you don't know what's going to happen in the next several months. And if they try and do something to you, you have the evidence to back you up and protect yourself. Now, in terms of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, this is the policies that they have in place or that they've mandated. I want to share this with you guys. So basically, it's everything I said before. Obviously, you'd want to contact your servicer or your lender to talk about mortgage assistance programs out there. Secondly, is that the mortgage forbearance is actually available for up to 12 months with Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. This is a pretty long time. Just understand that you're going to have to pay back those 12 months of delayed mortgage payments. Obviously, like I said before, foreclosures and evictions are stopped for 60 days up until May 17th, 2020. Also, according to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, lenders have to suspend from reporting late fees or being a late payment to the credit reporting bureau during this time. Obviously, we're in a hardship, right? It wouldn't make sense or wouldn't be necessarily fair to having your credit screwed over during this time over COVID-19. In addition to this, no penalties or late fees for entering into a forbearance agreement. This is pretty much to prevent mortgage servicers or lenders from trying to get the most amount of money during this time, during this hardship, where later on they collect on it. And last but not least, lenders and loan servicers are required to work with the buyer in order to pay those delayed payments in a certain time period without making it super hard, aka changing the payment structure, reduce payments, or doing a loan modification or repayment plan to help pay the deferred loan amounts, right? Or loan payment amounts, the forbearance amount that was agreed on, if that makes sense. Basically, to make it easy for the borrower so they're not, stuck with 12 months that they have to pay the second the forbearance expires. Through repayment plan that can be added onto the loan, or it can be already agreed to in the forbearance agreement. It really just depends on the lender or the loan servicer that you're talking to. So for those of you out there that are wondering, how do I get started with a forbearance agreement? Well, the first thing you would want to do is call up your mortgage servicer and say, hey, look, I've been affected by COVID-19. My pay has either been reduced or I'm simply not working because of COVID-19. I need help with paying my mortgage, and explain to them exactly your situation. During this time, they'll work with you in order to come to an agreement with the forbearance agreement, or they'll explain to you the process of applying for a forbearance agreement. Just keep in mind that during this time, you want to get the most important things in writing, which is, will my credit be affected? How am I going to pay it back? And how long is this going to last? Is interest going to be accrued on this deferred or this delayed payment for X amount of time? These questions matter to you, and you want to get this in writing, and don't just trust the loan servicers. It's always good to have everything in writing and come to a good agreement. So during this time, like I said, there's many options. If you can make your mortgage payment and your work hasn't really been affected by COVID-19, I highly recommend that you still make your mortgage payments and not enter into any forbearance agreements. I'm not saying they're entirely bad. I'm just saying if it's not necessary for you, I say you stay away from it. Because no matter what, you're still making those payments. It's just a matter of now or in several months or in over a year. In terms of someone who's questioning making their mortgage payment, just understand that there may be a grace period where you may not get a late fee or redeemed because of missing a payment. And then for those of you out there that absolutely cannot pay your mortgage payment, understand, please, there are programs out there available. Both the local, state, and federal governments are working very hard in order to make this work for everybody. And this is mostly in the form of a forbearance agreement with the lenders and the loan servicers out there. Definitely call up your loan servicer to talk more about a forbearance agreement and how it may be a good fit for you. Just understand that when you enter into a forbearance agreement, that money doesn't get swished away. It doesn't get excused. It's simply delayed and you pay at a later date. Understand that, and you should be good, and make sure to get everything in writing and that you come to an agreement on it as well. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe out there, stay sanitary, stay away from people. Social distancing, wash your hands, don't touch your face or your eyes. Stay inside as much as possible, and try to stay away from elders as well. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.